Andrea Melandri is anxious about his fruit trees. His 25-hectare farm was completely submerged. If it doesn't dry out in the next days, Melandri could lose his entire harvest of kiwis, apples and peaches, a loss of more than €500,000, he says.
Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty about the future. This is our life, and if they all die, we will lose everything.
For farmers like Melandri, the catastrophic floods are just the latest menace. Italy is considered particularly vulnerable to climate change. In recent years, he says he's grappled with drought, hailstones, tornadoes, and most recently, a cold snap.
Before, I was worried about extreme cold. Now, I'm more scared of floods. There was uncertainty back then, too, but it's nothing compared to this.
But it isn't just climate change that played a role in the recent flooding, which submerged entire towns and sent torrents of mud and debris hurtling down the region's Apennine Mountains. Some of the reasons seem to be homemade too. Emilia-Romagna is one of Italy's most fragile regions when it comes to floods and landslides, mainly because of years of unchecked construction in the alluvial plains, sealing entire areas already prone to flooding. Over 200,000 hectares of land have been paved over, encroaching upon forests. Experts like Gabriele Bolini say.
Rivers are squeezed into ever higher and narrow banks to give space to houses, industries, and agriculture. We need to reverse this approach.
5 years ago, the regional government passed an ambitious zero land consumption bill, but it was never implemented, Bolini says. High-risk flood areas have long been well mapped. The blue line clearly indicates when nothing should be built, but they kept being ignored.
When I worked in the local administration, councillors sometimes came and asked me to move the line, to allow their friends and such to build. This is the problem. When politics does things like that, it's not looking out for the public interest or the interest of future generations.
Non tutela l'interesse pubblico, non tutela l'interesse delle future generazioni.
Emilia-Romagna's vast fertile lands are crisscrossed with extensive irrigation infrastructure. Many of the canals and streams here burst their banks. Meteorologist Pierluigi Randi says that's also partly because Italy faced 2 years of extreme drought before this disaster, which meant maintaining the region's waterways and riverbanks were not considered a priority.
One of the things we need to do is to restructure and remodel the land for a new climate. We have to take charge and invest in infrastructure that can bring us towards adaptation. We will have to adapt.
That's also evident in the town of Modigliana. It recorded over 200 landslides since early May when the first round of floods hit, snapping communication networks, roads and water supplies. Local authorities say while the priority is to rebuild, the disaster shows it can't simply be business as usual.
There are houses that were built where they shouldn't have been, directly in the path of a potential landslide. We have to rebuild with respect for the natural landscape and terrain.
For his part, farmer Andrea Melandri doesn't know how long he'll be able to hold out in the face of ever-growing extreme weather events.
To be a farmer today has become almost a heroic enterprise. If this is what we need to get used to, it's going to be tough, really tough.
As Emilia-Romagna rolls up its sleeves to deal with the aftermath of the floods, the question of what amplified this tragedy and what can be learned from it is growing ever louder.